My 30 Values is a values clarification activity that fosters deep reflection. The goal is to help students recognize the people and things that are most important to them. This activity encourages students to prioritize their values and contemplate how their choices and actions are influenced by whom or what they value. There are 3 things to remember when facilitating this activity: timing, tone, and debrief. Timing is really important. Consider the placement of this activity in the semester. Make sure that your class is ready to participate in this activity, as it requires deep reflection and may evoke some emotions. Set the tone of the activity by letting participants know that this is a silent and personal activity. Debriefing this activity is just as important as the activity itself. Ensure that you allot the proper amount of time for students to be in a good place after doing this activity. Now, you may be familiar with a version of this activity known as Trash Your Values. This version asks you to write down your values such as home, mom, and trust, and then asks you to ball them up and throw them away. In University 101, we do not condone this version, as it's kind of damaging to ask a student to dispose of their values. Plus, mom wouldn't appreciate being thrown away. This version of the activity allows you to hold on to your values. So what will you need? First, stop by the University 101 office to pick up a facilitator's packet. The packet should contain 22 sets of colored squares and a facilitator's manual. Remember to follow the instructions carefully. Now, let's get started. Each student should get a set of squares. There should be 30 squares of colored paper. That's 5 squares of 6 different colors per participant. And each student should also have a writing utensil. For the activity itself, it should take a minimum of 30 minutes. Total, you should allot 40 to 60 minutes to include processing time and discussion. As the facilitator, you will guide the students through this process. Each square color represents a different category. Ask them to write down one person or thing on each piece of paper that is most important to them. Continue to remind students that they should be looking at 30 things that are most important to them. First, we want students to identify family members. This can be anyone that the student considers as family, even a pet. Now, non-family members. This can be anyone that the students consider important to them outside of their family. Experiences. This can include events that have impacted the student's life. They can be past or current events. Places. This can be places that the student is currently at, visited, or places that they hope to go. They can be tangible or metaphysical. They can also be specific, such as a room or even a planet. Things. This can be material possessions, beliefs, ideas, or principles. Goals. What are 5 goals that are most important to the student? Once all of the squares are filled out, ask students to take a few minutes to look over their values and think about why they are important to them. Encourage them to change or add to their squares at this time to ensure that they are looking at the 30 most important values and things in their lives. The next step of this activity involves the removal of squares from their array. Ask participants to remove 6 squares and place them face up in a pile next to them. These 6 squares should be the least important of the 30 squares. Remind the students that each of the squares is important, but they will now have in front of them the 24 most important squares. Once they have 24 squares in front of them, continue this process by asking them to remove 6 more. Now, 6 more. Now, remove 4. Now, 4 more, and remove 2. Finally, 1 square. Once students have removed 29 of their values into the stack at their side, ask them to place their final value on top of the stack. Now it's time to debrief. Have the students consider why that value was most important to them. Carve out time to let students share their top values with the group or with a peer. You may allow students to pass or just share the final category. When debriefing, use the processing questions in the facilitation guide. Remember to consider what, so what, and now what. Questions can include, what was this experience like? What did you learn about yourself today? What will your values look like in 5 or 10 years? Once done debriefing, Encourage the students to keep their values and put them where they can refer to them on a later date. You can now successfully facilitate My 30 Values. This is a University 101 lesson from the road. Thank you for watching and good luck.